After the debate last night, new President of the United States, Donald Trump, again? Or is this some kind of a trap? Incredible appearance of Biden, panic among the Democrats, anxiety and gloom among the journalists, CNN commentators, anxiety and terror among the followers of the internationalist, globalist, and woke agenda, but there seems to be some kind of a trap. CNN commentator Gina Saunders, once also worked on the Biden campaign in 2019, said that he, Biden, could not articulate a single correct sentence, not an argument. At some point, she said, I felt like Joe was really Trump's chihuahua. Oh my God. So you can imagine for her to say something like this was not at all good for Biden. And I just finished listening, the writer says, to the debate, and straight away I sat down at my desk, turned on my computer, and I testified before you that I have never felt so much pity for a politician, especially one named Joe Biden. Or to put it another way, I have never seen a candidate for the highest office of the President of the United States look such completely unacceptable, and even worse, I've never seen such a terrible bottom performer before, let alone superpower. Of course, we already knew the result of the debate, as we knew the situation in which the current President of the United States is. Not many days have passed since his tragic appearance at Macron's holiday they call D-Day, when Biden flailed mentally and physically, and in fact almost had the reprimand where he went to sit on a chair where that wasn't there, that he was the only one watching, and luckily his wife intervened, whispering to him probably loudly that there's no chair and he's going to collapse. I had also heard, and had even uploaded a special article about it, that the super Elix Joe was about to take the biggest dopa possible, a dynamite cocktail of various stimulants, to endure so much pressure of a debate, as well as the maximum possible alertness in his intellect. But such a carpet performance, I honestly did not expect it, even my best beliefs. Biden simply did not answer any substantive questions from the two journalists who interrogated the two in question. In fact, when asked about the economy and what he intends to do if he becomes president again regarding the U.S. debt and the recovery of the stagnant economy, Biden was almost whispering a few words, and at one point short-circuited and did not know what he was saying. One was talking about a booming economy, and the other, he implicated China, as if China was responsible for the black mess of the American economy. At one point, the journalist cut him off before he could finish, because she understood that if she left him, America itself would be humiliated. Trump, of course, felt everyone could see it in his eyes, absolute sovereign, unlike his previous opponent in the 2015 election, Hillary Clinton, who interrupted her every 3 or so times to shout that he was going to send her to jail. Trump seemed to feel sorry for poor old Joe and just smiled through his every line. Much later, on the Fox News channel, Tucker Carlson's replacement, Sean Hannity, called Biden's appearance a disaster for the Democrats, a shame for America, and a nightmare for the internationalists. The tweet of the Democratic Party fanatic actress Ellen Barkin was unparalleled. CNN debate is a Trump campaign rally, she said, sponsored by CNN. And what the heck, such was the terror felt by all the supporters of the Democrats and, of course, the lovers of the New World Order. And on the online poll conducted by CNN at the same time as the debate, and measuring the public's tendency for one or the other candidate, at one point the chart took a form that the American public had never seen before in any previous debate. Trump's line takes off while Biden's line collapses vertically. And these, my dear brothers, do not even exist in the Western banana republics, that is, in our country. Such an incredible disaster the USA has never suffered in its history. In other words, the American public, and not the smugglers that Biden let in by opening the gates of the borders, realized, or rather prevented, that he has essentially no leadership, or worse, he never had leadership in the 4 years 2020-2024. He asserted that the man who emerged from the falsified, now verified elections of November 2020 was a real puppet and was spearhead for the WF Klaus Schwab, George Soros, Rothschild, Rockefeller criminal gang, and to set up their plan for the implementation of the creation New World Order of things as quickly as possible, justifying all of us, Westerners, from this side, from who were shouting through our texts concerning overthrow and the way it was done. Now, in fact, George Soros himself said in an interview on the issue of abortions, which Trump intended to make illegal, that don't worry, at the end of 2020, Trump will not be on the throne of the president of USA. This is what George Soros said. How did he know if he had not planned it with the rest of the gang? And now the plan, some kind of a reverse. The Democrats, the internationalists, and the escape plan. Many of the subscribers to CNN News Channel, almost all Democratic Party supporters, had only one conversation after the debate ended. What's next? What's going to take place? In fact, one of them, named Gerald Owen, said the inimitable. He said, our only hope is that he withdraws. In other words, Biden steps down from being presidential candidate, and we have a conference with negotiations, or he dies, otherwise we're done. Can you imagine saying that on television? Another journalist was about to break down in tears, wiping herself, wondering, how did we get something like this to happen? Why did we let it happen even though we saw the beating that Joe had taken? And we didn't push for his immediate replacement before 2024, but hoped that the condemned Trump would save us. But I, the very vile one, do not pay attention to all these theatrics. I believe that something awesome is happening in this case, and I analyze my thoughts. And the writer says, we all know that the Democratic Party is a political base on which the New World Order syndicate rests, and every president that has run this party since 1993 has been a member of this gang. Clinton, Bush, Republican dissidents, Obama, almost Hillary. The people who ascended the throne, quote unquote, of the USA were all young. They had not even passed 60 years old, except Hillary. They were fighters, etc. But my question about the choice of Biden by the Democratic Party, and not someone else younger in age, it was always in my mind. The people who chose him knew everything about him, about his illness, his senility, his mental health, his dementia, the lack of proper processing of the data, and finally, his prohibitive for president premature age. What exactly were they after? They are not stupid. Paranoid and sick, yes, but dumb, no. So why Biden? And that's not all. Next to him, a literal mummy for Vice President Kamala Harris, who once played as a state prosecutor, and even with the reputation of, we're not going to go into that, she had a reputation, and who since the day she assumed the duties of Vice President had not taken out even a plated decorative element in the office of Vice President. In other words, did they really desire complete ungovernance in the United States, or did things have another picture that we don't know? And well, let me accept that they did put two puppets walking around the White House, and they in the shadows pretended to be submissive to what these two say, what they sign, what they declare, what they don't. I agree that a sane person, no matter how fanatical he was about internationalism, would not dare to come forward and provoke Russia to the point of raising nuclear war. But the old Biden would enter, and the monkey Kamala Harris would be somewhere else. Didn't they have an alternative plan in the band? Plan something for emergency purposes, bro, that would immediately replace Biden with some other Democratic personality? What did they expect? To work all the manufactured propaganda about Trump's guilty for ridiculous charges, and which would actually push him further into the presidency? Because that's exactly what happened. In the case of the debate, and you know something? I accept that this con artist who goes by the name of Ellen Barkin is right, when she wrote in her tweet that CNN is backing Trump and sponsoring him. Of course, it did not happen exactly like that, but the complete lack of a serious opponent, of course, would have brought out a Trump first by a margin, thus showing that the popular news channel did back and actually assist Trump. The people in charge of the channel, as loyal Democrats, did not make a phone call to their bosses to tell them, brothers, if we side by side debate this person against the Trump boulder, we're going to have an annihilation at best. At worst, we will be looking to find our vote. Either adjourn the debate or knowingly let's go for a draw. Didn't they know they were going to be made ridiculous of? That they opened the pit themselves to fall in it? I don't think they're capable of either freehand or dumb or idiots either. Therefore, here is the pit that we're talking about. In my opinion, why the Third World War cannot be avoided. The prophesied gone impossible shortly before this year's Easter I had written. As we all know, any major conflict in the Middle East will seal the deal, and gas prices will explode. Uncontrolled inflation will not just be the death knell for the Biden presidency, assuming the presidential election still has importance, but it will be the death knell of all neophile leftists and internationalists in general. Unless they can delay the greater economic disaster until they find a scapegoat or until they can start a truly massive war. In my poor opinion, that scapegoat will either be Trump and the Republicans or Russia with the BRICS or both. If Trump replaces Biden at the end of 2024, then the crash that all serious economists are sounding the alarm about will be much faster and will certainly be charged to conservative movements within Europe as well, if the European elections show a victory for conservative parties. Biden, if there is no fraud, is not going to be in office in January 2025, but since we are dealing with an international gang of thugs and corrupt people, there's also the scenario of them securing a war before the election, maybe with the intention of preventing or delaying the vote, perhaps even with the intention of creating enough chaos that the vote is rigged or gives the impression that it was rigged, causing civil unrest. So based on my reasoning, the writer says, that you read above, and after thoroughly analyzing the reasons why Biden stood in front of an audience last night and Trump in this mess that we all saw, one thing can be concluded, that this whole conclusion of debate was planned by the WEF criminal gang to end once and for all any party that opposes their engineered new order, and Trump will be the scapegoat, quote unquote. They presented a Biden in a pathetic state so that the world would vote for Trump. It was not random, it was planned. From the beginning, perhaps long before the pandemic, when we discovered, unfortunately, the internet is big, that COVID-19 was a patent of Bill Gates, registered as early as 2002, 20 years before it happened, we immediately concluded that this pandemic, with all the abnormal paranormal that followed, has been planned all along. And since it was planned almost 20 years before it came to the surface, and indeed with great success, it's possible that the Biden administration, with everything that followed his 4 years, as well as the continuation, was not planned in detail, hence his successor. Biden is a puppet, and he cared nothing more than to play the president for as long as they wanted. He didn't care if he was being used, nor did he care if he ever collapsed in a public place. In other words, he would be perfect for the role of virtual president. Any other career politician would never play this role. Not only would he risk his career, but also his very existence. He would be in danger of going to prison after the defeat. And now, who will dare to send an old man sick and advanced in dementia to prison? Nobody, of course. And as long as we know that this international WF gang wants at all costs to impose the Great Reset, quote unquote, in the terms and plans that have come to light all these years, we also know how it can be done. First, the abolition of the parties that oppose the old conservative ideology of country, religion, and family, patriotism, religion, and family. In the case of the USA, the Republicans. In the case of Europe, the right and far right. How is this going to be done? Quite simply, the wise men say it in the protocols: destruction of the economies of the whole world through over indebtedness, and that this will cause great anger of the people against the politicians, and the people will demand that we govern them. That is, WEF governs them. More clearly, they could not have presented it to us. Secondly, the provocation of a major crash, which is ready to burst. We've already been warned by important figures in the economy on this: Rubini, Peterson, Henry Dent, and so many others, even these international houses of the Rothschild bankers. Then third, of course, the provocation of a third world war, which will destroy everything on the planet. The nightmarish end of a foul world. So the abolition of the parties of the so-called right, whether Republican or far right, is a prerequisite for the international WF to exist. The only solution for the good of humanity, since, of course, first they get out of the way all constitutions which already have them they've already put them in rags, and their minions, maps of the states, etc. In America, the cradle of internationalism, there are only two parties, easy case. They put in a Biden-type puppet, old and weak, to represent the president, create a chaos around his administration, keep him up until the end with doped up and powerful drugs, and at the same time allegedly try to spoil the profile of a really capable governor like Trump, who is the leader of the Republicans, through ridiculous accusations. This man went with a porn star, and oh my God, Biden said it in a serious tone. It rained from the public at the polls. And sometimes threatened him with prison. Remember what had happened at the judge's decision about Trump's guilt, sentencing him 34 times and plus times 4 years in prison. That was the banter that followed. He became $35 million richer in donations from his followers, effectively enhancing his power. And finally, they bring these two to debate, where the weak falcon is humiliated, and voila. Let's go to the elections. Trump comes out the winner with an incredible score, and after a while in the first days of his administration, and since he does not finally achieve peace in the war with Russia and Ukraine, he's affected by the economic crash and the end. The world takes to the streets, the hunger can't stand it, and it breaks everything in front of it by stealing what food is left. And the war reaches its zenith, and after about, 800 million people, according to apocalyptic sayings of the holy elders, and send so many others to the grave of hunger. So these things, they convene a World Congress of technocrats and owners of multinationals, and here is the new world government. So simple and so easy. So that is the pit foretold, the trap, and what a pity, my God. In any case, even if not all of these things happen, a day ago, a professor of economic geography, Yanis Mazis, against a background of intense skepticism, declared to us that a global military conflict is imminent and a collapse of the markets in or after September. This means that maybe, hopefully, we won't get to November with the elections, or the plan is to get there. Then they definitely have it set to with the poor Trump. The same is true with the other great and possible new president of France, Marine Le Pen. They have already opened the pit the size of a well and are trying to push her down the well with her economic and social panic. And her and those who vote for her, of course. The crash in Europe, they will pretend to happen either when she takes over the presidency from Macron or before her, accusing her party, which will actually govern, that a far right and its plans have made France miserable. So this gang of international globalists is not going to stop anywhere. Everything is now starting to blur. And that's how they got to make fun of their puppet Biden, and that's how they'll get by plan to take over the entire planet, having previously demonized Russia and everyone who opposes their one-sided plans. Russia, which they cannot defeat. But where do they put God? St. Paisius, the Athonite, rhetorically said, they have their plans, but God also has his plans. Indeed, he has, And luckily he has them because as he was abandoning us to our fate, the planet was not spared to be called Prison Planet one day. I don't have anything more to say, the writer says. I think I got everything out of what I had to say. So don't worry, people, God does exist, and for some unimaginable reason, he will not only feel sorry for us, but look where he will forgive us all, despite the fact that we don't deserve even half a penny of forgiveness. He threw these worms onto us not to kill us, but to benefit us and make us wiser. Even those who today dance through these ridiculous events and called wearing colored flags to their physical and spiritual, even these humans will be sorry if they repent. Remember that. And whatever bad is about to happen, it will bring great good. And I signed this with my heart's blood. So stay alert, times are tough, nothing else, but not to be found in a state of spiritual hypersomnia. Be alert. And this is from the Fiery Scholar. I've translated this for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.